Hi guys, Arisa Dia here, and I'm back with a kind of like weird special like sit down talk, I guess, video. I wanted to talk about this because I'm doing something kind of related to it. So one of my favorite series of anime is Utano Sama, or UtaPri as it's typically called. And recently this year they had a movie come out in Japan, and I actually got to go see it on the day that I opened, and I got to go to a very special screening of it, which was live streaming a Seiyuu event, or a voice actor event, that was happening at the exact same time in Yokohama. And so I kind of wanted to talk about that experience a little bit, because this weekend, by the time this is uploaded, it'll be the next day. It's this Sunday, but I'm uploading this on Saturday, so I guess tomorrow, it is going to be released in theaters in America, and I get to go see it with a bunch of my friends here. So because I'm seeing it on the day in which it opens in America, I thought I'd have like a little sit-down chat about how I got to go see it on opening day in Japan. So I follow the UtaPri channel on Twitter, or I guess page, not channel, on Twitter, and so I get lots of their updates, but most of the time it's written in Japanese. And so whenever I find something interesting, I send it to one of my friends who can actually like read more Japanese than I can, because I can typically read anything in katakana and all the actual details. I'm like, I don't know what this says. And so I sent one of my friends the link to this thing that I was like, oh, this seems to be like a special like screening like Seiyuu event for the movie, but I didn't really like know what it was for. And so she got back to me and she was like super excited. She was just like, oh my gosh, this is a live stream of the Seiyuu event. So when the Seiyuu event is happening, they'll live stream it to various theaters around Tokyo, and you can like go see that followed by the actual movie. And so it was only happening one day, and only very select theaters in Tokyo were doing this. I want to say throughout all of Tokyo there might have been 7 to 9 theaters that were doing this. And so at first I was a little sad because I was like, oh, it would have been great to get tickets to the actual like Seiyuu event, but by that point like I had missed like ticket sales and stuff for that. So I was like, okay, like I really want to see the Seiyuu event, like it would be great if we could get tickets to the movie and like live stream of it. And my friend was like all on board, and so like she looked up the details and stuff, and we formulated a plan, because they were selling tickets on like very certain days. And so we were like, okay, the first day they go on sale, we have to like try to get the tickets. And for those who aren't really into UtaPri, I'm gonna like phrase this in like the best way that I probably can. UtaPri is like the BTS of otome and idol things. Like, it is like the Hunger Games, trying to get tickets to events, even like buying certain merchandise and stuff. Like, it is intense. And so both my friend and I knew this, and we were like, we have to get these tickets, like we need to, especially if it's only being shown once and there are certain theaters. We were like, we need these tickets. So we formulated a plan, and unfortunately the day that the tickets were on sale was the day that I had school and she had work. So we formulated a plan where I had first period class and then I had a third period class, so I had second and lunch free. And so we formulated a plan where my school was in Yotsuya, and it's a very short train ride to Shinjuku and then to Shibuya. And then my friend works in Ikebukuro, so she had that covered. And so then we formulated a plan where as soon as my first class was over, I'd go to Shinjuku, ask the theater there, try to buy tickets. If I couldn't get 2 tickets for us, I'd ask for 1 so I could go, and if that didn't work, then I'd move on to the next place, which was Shibuya. And then I would repeat the process. If I couldn't get tickets there either, I'd let her know, and on her lunch break she was going to go to the Ikebukuro one, try there, and if she didn't find them there was actually a theater that was very close to where we both live, that was maybe a 7-minute train ride away, that was also offering it. And we figured, worst case scenario, that's our best bet, because it's outside of Tokyo. Like not super far, but it's just into the Chiba prefecture, which is technically outside of Tokyo, because you're in a different prefecture. So we were like, okay, if she can't get them in Ikebukuro and we're like down to the last wire, I was like, I'll stop on my way home from class at, it was in Kamiari. And I was like, I'll stop there and see if I can get tickets there. So the day comes and it's like downpouring, rain like everywhere. Because this was in June, which is like rainy season in Japan. So I was like, okay, we just gotta do this. And so I booked it from my class. Like I ran out of my class and like ran to the station and like went to Shinjuku, and I'm like trying to use Google Maps and like it's taking me in the wrong direction. So finally I get to the theater and I'm like then faced with my next hurdle, which is asking how to buy tickets or where to buy the tickets in Japanese. And so I can speak Japanese. It's a very, very basic level. I can get by, but it's not the best. And so luckily I had like asked her beforehand. We were like texting online, and I was just like, okay, does this sound good? Does this make sense? And so she helped me correct a bit of my grammar, and so I was like, okay. So I get there and I go up to this dude, and like there's like this giant poster for the movie just like hanging on the wall. So I was like, okay, I'm at least kind of in the right place. So I go to this one attendant, and so I go up to him and I ask him like, oh, like, excuse me, like, where can I buy these tickets? And so he points me into the direction of the little like merchandise store, which is a thing that almost, I think, every single theater that I went to in Japan has, which I think is actually really cool because you can just buy merch for the movies there instead of like having to go to like a Hot Topic or like order things online. You can just get it right at the movie theater, which I think is pretty cool. And so I'm like, okay, that's kind of a weird place to get tickets, but like I'll try it. So I go over there and there are 2 women working the counter. And so I go up to them, and yet again I'm like, oh, excuse me, like, can I buy the tickets here? And they're just like, oh no, you're in the wrong place, like, you've got to go over there. And I'm like, okay. So I'm back at where I started, and I see like ticket machines of how you get already bought tickets, and then there's like a person who can go to and like actually buy the tickets. So it's like, I'm just gonna wait for this person and see if I can ask them. So I repeat the process, go up to the woman and was like, oh, excuse me, like, can I buy these tickets? And she's like, oh yeah, like, give me a second. So she goes to try to like scan like the code, because like they had it in a book because it was a special event. So they had like a special book for the tickets, and it like wasn't working. So then she calls over like a manager or something, and they're talking and like they're trying to figure it out, and they're like looking for different things, and then she ends up calling somebody else and asking. Meanwhile, I'm there going like, I don't know what's happening. I'm like trying not to panic. Like I'm wet because it was rainy outside. I'm confused because I don't speak Japanese, and I'm like super anxious about whether or not I'm going to get these tickets. And like just thinking in my head like, oh my god, next I have to go to like Shibuya. If I can't get them here, I have to like get on a train and I have to hustle. And so I'm like just super like energized in a very anxious way, and I was like, I gotta get going. And so then the woman's like, like, I'm so sorry, like, they aren't being sold today. And I was just like, huh? And a lot of our conversation was essentially her going like, sumimasen, and me going like, wakaranai, like, wakarimasen, like, I don't understand, because she kept saying like, she would like apologize for like not having the tickets, and then she was like trying to explain like what was happening, and while I was waiting she kept apologizing for making me wait, and I was like, no, you do what you need to do. And then at the end she was like, oh sorry, like the tickets aren't on sale. And so like I didn't really like get that at first, and so I was like saying like, oh my god, like I'm sorry, like I don't know what you're saying. Like, I only speak a little bit of Japanese. So she ends up, and I thought this was very innovative, she had like a book that had like, or maybe it was like a calendar that had like today, like the date and like the next day's date. And so she points to today, or the day that it was at the time. And she goes, Kyo, which means today, online. And then she points to the next day and goes, Ashita, koko, which essentially means tomorrow here. And I was like, wakarimashita, arigatou gozaimasu, and like was like bowing and stuff, because she was essentially saying like, today they're being sold online, tomorrow's when they're being sold like actually in stores, like at the theater. And I was like, oh okay, like thank you so much. So then she was apologizing for like the entire like trouble, and I was apologizing because I felt bad that I just sent her on like a wild chicken chase. So I like messaged my friend, and I'm just like, okay, so this just happened to me, I'm panicking, I don't want to like go all the way to Shibuya, which granted is only a short train ride, but I was still like, this is my lunch period that I'm doing this. I'm like, I don't want to like run to Shibuya in the pouring rain, and I don't want to make you go to like Ikebukuro if something's not right. So I'm like freaking out to her. So she double checks, and apparently the site just made it seem like all the tickets went on sale that day. Whereas if you went into the site of each theater, they all went on sale at different days, both online and in theater. So she ended up compiling a list of like when all of them were being sold and stuff. And so we were like, okay, the first one up is Shinjuku. We'll try for it. And so it was like later that night, so midnight, we're both in my room, and we're trying to like buy these tickets, and it's just not working, because it's like, they're essentially like the BTS of like otome idol animes. And so like everybody's just trying to get these damn tickets. Like it was literally like the site was almost crashing. And so like we're both like trying hard. We tried for like maybe a half an hour to an hour, and we just gave up after a while. And we were like, okay, you know what? We have 3 more places we can try that we actually like know where they are. And we were like, the next one up is the one that's in Kamihari. It's a bit farther out. Hopefully not as many people will try for it. So days go by, and I actually forgot the tickets were going on sale that day, and I just was like doing homework or something, and I just get a message from my friend saying, I got us tickets. And I was like, oh my god. So I like ran to her room. We lived in the same like share house, and she ended up getting tickets for it. And so she got one for me and one for her, and so we were super excited. So then the day came when the movie was released, which was June 14th, and it was either a Saturday or Sunday, I forgot which, but I ended up, it was at literally the only mall I've actually seen in Japan, because most of their malls are just department stores, but the department stores are more like malls. It's a really weird concept, but this was like an actual, like it was like an American style mall. It wasn't just a department store. And so I ended up meeting her there because she had plans in the morning, so I ended up going and meeting her there, and we had lunch. And then we went to the movie theater, and they were having this special promotional thing where you could get a like, I guess it was like a very thin cardboard like box that could hold a drink and then a bag of popcorn, and all like the box and the bag of popcorn were styled with like the UtaPri characters on it. And so it was like really cool. So I ended up buying that for us to split, and it came with a free clear file, and depending on when you went, I think it was like every 2 weeks they switched it. So if you went the first 2 weeks, you got a Starish one. The next 2 weeks I think was Quartet Night, and then the last 2 weeks was Heaven's. So I ended up getting the Starish ones because it was like the first day. So I bought that for us to split, even though we ended up not actually like eating it until after. But like we get to the theater and I was like super excited because I was really big into Ita bags when I was in Japan. So I had like my bag like all decked out for like UtaPri, and I was just like super excited. And so I go, I'm seeing lots of other cute Ita bags, and like everybody's like speaking Japanese. I was like the only foreigner there, which kind of makes sense considering that UtaPri is a very like popular series in Japan, but not so much in like the US. So it's something that I never expected like foreigners to really be into, especially if they're like in Japan. So I like expected to be the only foreigner. So it's kind of like funny because I'm like sitting there and we got really good seats, which was really nice because you don't get to pick your seats with something like that. It's like a lottery, like you just get there. And so we ended up getting really good seats. And so it's just my friend and I, and we're speaking like half like English, half Japanese with each other, and just like hearing all like these Japanese girls just like freaking out all around us. And I was also kind of freaking out because I was super excited. And I actually felt kind of bad because just as like the Seiyuu event was like starting, the girl who was sitting next to me accidentally knocked over her popcorn thing, and I felt so bad because she was like trying to clean it up but also trying to like watch the Seiyuu event. But the Seiyuu event ended up being super awesome, except for the part of which I don't speak Japanese. And so I knew that going into this. I also knew that like I wasn't going to understand anything that was happening in the movie, which luckily I was like, oh, I think it's just a concert movie. It'll just be like an animated concert rather than like an actual movie with a plot, which luckily that was the case. So I still don't know what happened, like what they were saying, because I knew they were telling stories in the movie, but I don't know what they were saying. But the Seiyuu event, I was like, I'm going, and I don't know what they're going to say. So I was super excited because UtaPri not only has like a lot of like top star actors, like voice actors, but a lot of them are some of my favorite voice actors. So like there's Hiroshimono, Mamoru Miyano, my favorite Aoi Shota is in it, there's Tomoaki Maino, just like a lot of like big name like voice actors. And so like that's part of like why I really wanted to go, because I really wanted to go to a Seiyuu event and I really wanted to go to an UtaPri Seiyuu event. So I went and they all introduced themselves, and they had like a couple of fun games where they went into like the groups, because in the movie the three groups split into smaller groups so that there are members like mixing from each group. And so they were with their unit groups in like groups of 3, and they were playing like this fill in the like blank game, I guess. And I understood maybe about an eighth of what they were saying, and like my friend was like next to me she was at least trying to translate the game part for me, like what they were saying in the blanks, which was very nice of her. But it was like really funny because like there was this weird disconnect where I'm like watching it and like I'm laughing when everybody else is laughing because I understand enough to know that there's something funny going on, but I don't understand enough to know what's actually funny about what's happening. But then there was like this weird thing where, because I'm very familiar with how the UtaPri Seiyus like act and like interact with each other, because I've seen other Seiyuu events that they've done, but my friend hadn't. So it was like this weird disconnect where like she would like lean over to try to like explain something to me, and I'd be like, oh yeah, like I get that, and she's like, oh, like you understood that, and I'm like, kind of. Or there was like a part where Mamoru Miyano was kind of like, it looked like he was kind of like teasing Aoi Shota, and I was like laughing because like that's something that happens in every single like Seiyuu event that those two do together. So I like leaned to her and I was like, oh, is like Miyano-san like making fun of like Shotan, and like because he's like so cute and stuff, and she was like, yeah, how'd you know? I'm like, oh, they do it like every single time they're on stage together. And so it was like kind of like that weird thing where like I knew a couple of things that like she didn't, because like I've seen them interact before, but she wasn't used to that. Or like there's one point where one of them made a reference, and it was a very specific reference to the UtaPri Maji Love 4th Stage Live. And it was a reference to a song that Hiroshimono impromptu makes up and sings in front of the audience during that stage. And they referenced the title of it, and we're making jokes about it, and then saying like, oh no, we can't like sing that, like that's like Shimono-san's thing and stuff. And so when they brought that up, I started laughing because I didn't fully know what they were saying at first, but I heard the name of it and like got the reference, and so I was laughing at that and just how they were reacting to hearing it. And she was like, what's like so funny, I don't get that. So I explained it to her, and it was just like, it was very weird that like she actually like understood what they were saying, but like I was getting more of like the inside jokes despite not actually know what they were saying. But it was like a really cool like kind of like learning experience, and just kind of like something fun to experience of like I didn't know what was going on, but at the same time I knew what was going on. So it was like really cool, and it made me like have a chance to like really like try to like focus and try to like understand Japanese. But that happened, and it was so nice. Like I was happy to just be like in that audience, like even though like they couldn't see me because it was like a live stream and stuff. It was like really nice because it did feel like you were like sitting there watching it live, which technically we were. Like unfortunately they weren't like right up on stage with us, but it was just really, really cool. I was like geeking out over like Aoi Shoten, like every single thing that he did, which luckily I wasn't alone, because like every girl in the audience, like depending on like what voice actor was speaking, you just hear like Kya or like Koi or like oh suke and like things like that, and which I was also doing. And so it's kind of just like fun to be like in a situation where like we all had like the same kind of like opinions and feelings and stuff. And so we got to like do that, and then they were like, oh, like please enjoy the movie at the end, and then the movie started. And it is probably one of the best anime movies I've ever seen. And for it also being a movie with no plot other than it's just an animated concert, it was brilliant. The animation in it was phenomenal. It was almost the entire thing was 3D CG, which typically in anime can go very bad. And like UtaPri's tried doing it in the past where they'll put like the ending song in 3D CG, and it just looks really bad because the rest of it's very two-dimensional. But because the entirety of it was 3D, like, well, 3D CG, it like worked because everything looked coherent, because it wasn't half 3D, half 2D. It was all 3D. And the detailing of it was phenomenal. Like you can see every single sparkle in their very detailed idol outfits, as well as like very synchronized choreography that all of like the members were doing. And like between all of the groups, like one group has, or two groups have 7 members, and then one group has 4 members. So that's like 18 men who at one point or another are all completely synchronized in dancing. And then they have like stage graphics and like just like set designs and stuff, and like different costumes, and it was just incredible to see the amount of detail that went into that. Like I spent like half of the thing just staring, like trying to find flaws in the animation, and it was very hard to come across them. So I was just blown away by the detail and the amount of work and effort that was put into animating this movie, especially considering there was no plot in it. But then like the songs in it, like UtaPri, one of the reasons it's so popular is because they have top voice actors who all can sing, and they pair it with just really good, really catchy songs. So all of the groups, whether they were the main groups or the unit groups, had really good songs. And like that watching the movie was the first time I heard most of the songs. The only two that I had heard before was Quartet Nights group songs, because I had bought the CD without realizing that it was the CD. Also, it was like 100 yen, so like I was all about that steal. But it was just, the music was phenomenal, paired with like the dancing and just like the graphics. It was just amazing. Like, part of the reason I love UtaPri so much is because like the songs are actually good, and like a big reason why I'm into like the UtaPri fan base is partially because I like the show and stuff, even though the plot is very, very flawed. But I also like love watching like the actual Seiyuu events, which most of the time are concerts, which is just them performing. Like, the reason I got that very specific Maji Love 4th live stage is because I've watched that live stage at least 20 times probably, and that's like a 3.5 hour concert of just the Seiyus performing the songs. And so it was like really nice to like see like that type of thing, like my favorite part about that, but it being like animated with like my favorite characters. So that was just like a really cool thing. But yeah, it was just amazing, and I wanted to go see it again, but I didn't end up getting the chance, and it was actually really sad because they were selling light sticks for it, like specifically for the movie. My friend and I were going to buy them, but then we didn't have a chance to, so we were like, oh, we'll buy them and we'll go again, but we ended up not, which ended up saving us money in the end, which was probably for the better because I paid like 3,000 yen, maybe a bit more. I think it might have been 3,300 yen for the ticket for the Seiyuu event live stream and the movie, so that was probably like $33 that I spent. A little less than that, but it was still like a really expensive thing because it was a special event. So it was kind of nice to save money, and now when I go to the premiere of it tomorrow with my friends, I actually get to go for free because the theater that's showing it, my anime club advisor half owns, so he lets our club get in for free. So that'll be kind of like a nice like breath of fresh air for my wallet after having spent so much to see the premiere in Japan, to then be able to not have to pay anything for the premiere in America. But I really wanted to make this video to tell you guys that if you have the chance to go see this movie, I highly, highly recommend it. The animation is good, the boys are cute, the songs are great. It's just a really, really fun time. And I can't wait to see it again. Like, I'm super, super pumped for tomorrow. And I think it's also playing at my theater 2 more times, but I think it's like later on in like November, and I'm probably gonna go see it both times then. But yeah, so it'll be fun. I'm going to enjoy going with a big group of friends because I honestly didn't think that people were going to see it here in, at least where like I am, especially from my college, but a lot of my friends are actually like super interested in going, and we actually were like talking in our group chat, and there was a couple other people who actually liked the show, so it was nice to interact and stuff. So I'm enjoying going to like see it with like a giant group of my friends, even though I had a blast with just my one friend. But it'll be nice, especially because there are subtitles for the movie, so I'll finally know what's happening. Still don't know what happened in the Seiyuu event, but at least the movie now I'll know. But yeah, so I just wanted to say, like, that was my story on trying to get the tickets for the Seiyuu event, which was very, very weird and hard. And then like actually going and seeing it, and just like my opinion on the movie. So if you're in America and you're near a theater that's playing it, I highly recommend seeing it, especially if you're a fan of UtaPri. It's just a really fun time. It'll make you smile. Even if you're not a fan of the show, it's just really great music and a really good time. So highly recommend going to see it. But yeah, so that's all I wanted to talk about. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know down in the comments below if you're a fan of UtaPri. If you are, who's your favorite character? What's your favorite song? But yeah, if you aren't, let me know if you'd be interested in getting into it. I know I have a few more videos that'll be posted soon where I will probably bring up a lot about UtaPri, and those will probably be mostly like merch videos, like merch hauls. But yeah, so Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Love you. Bye.